that's enough of that. Dude, I don't even, this Romeo and Juliet crap's so hard to understand. I don't even remember any of this. Nor do I remember even who William Shakespeare even was. I was a stupid freshman when I learned this crap. I'm gonna take a break. Whoa, who are you?
Hello, little boy. I am William Shakespeare. I would love to tell you more about my life and one of my favorite plays, Romeo and Juliet.
William Shakespeare was born on April 15, 1564, in Stratford-upon-Avon, United Kingdom. He was an author, playwright, actor, and poet, and is regarded as the greatest writer in English literature. His origins are mysterious, and not much is known about his early life. What can be said, however, is that his parents were John Shakespeare and Mary Arden, and that he had 7 brothers and sisters. He likely attended King's New School as a young kid, where he learned intense grammar based upon classical Latin works. When he was older, he married Anne Hathaway in 1582 and had 3 children, named Hamnet, Susanna, and Judith, although his posterity all eventually died afterwards. Sometimes after his marriage, likely in the mid-1580s, he began to write plays, which were frequently played in the Lord Chamberlain's Men, a playing company. His plays were mainly performed in the company's theater called the Globe Theater. He wrote many famous comedies and tragedies, including Hamlet, Macbeth, and Romeo and Juliet. In the 1610s, Shakespeare then retired and went back to Stratford shortly before death. He subsequently died on April 23, 1616. Nobody knows his exact cause of death, although it has been speculated he got murdered or died of syphilis. During his lifetime, however, he wrote 37 plays, which included 17 comedies, 10 tragedies, and 10 history plays. One of these included the play Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet is a Shakespearean tragedy that was written and composed in between 1594 and 1596, and the first published manuscript was an unauthorized quarto in 1597. The play follows a strife between 2 wealthy families and the relationship between 2 star-crossed lovers. The scene we are going to perform is from Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 4, where Romeo wanders, along with Mercutio and Benvolio, how they are going to get into in the Capulet feast, because they are Montagues. But first, let's get a general overview of Romeo and Juliet and the events leading up to it. The story is based upon the relationship between 2 enemy families of the Italian city of Verona, the Montagues and the Capulets. The 2 families have had a long-lasting feud between each other that has ran for ages. Romeo is Lord Montague's son, and he is emotional, angsty, passionate, and relentless in his attempt to court Juliet. Meanwhile, Juliet Capulet is going to marry Paris. Juliet is Lord Capulet's 13-year-old daughter and is mature, honor-driven, and self-determined, despite familial pressures. Paris, on the other hand, generally lacks a complex personality. He is occasionally a jerk and is sometimes simply keyless. Romeo meets Juliet at a party, and they fall in love and decide to marry. Romeo then meets with Friar Lawrence, who is Romeo and Juliet's mentor, and advises them to act with caution while trying to marry. He is wise, intelligent, and overly optimistic. The friar arranges a marriage between the 2 teens. Unfortunately, Romeo gets banished by the Prince of Verona after killing Juliet's aggressive and macho cousin, Tybalt, who is overprotective to the Capulets. The friar responds by forming a plan. Romeo will spend the wedding night with Juliet, but will go until tensions ease up with Verona. Juliet cannot follow this plan, however, because she'll have to marry Paris in 2 days. She gets depressed and says she will kill herself. The friar wants to support Juliet and gives her a sleeping connotation. She'll be sent to the Capulet tomb after she is found dead, and then she'll sneak in with Romeo afterwards. Sadly, Romeo does not know about the friar's plan and thinks Juliet is dead. He buys poison and kills himself next to Juliet's body. Sadly, Juliet wakes up and kills herself after thinking Romeo is dead. The families then come to the tomb, mourn, and then reconcile with each other after realizing what the feud cost them. The specific scene begins after the Capulets have begun a feast. Lord Capulet created the feast so that Paris may court and win Juliet. Nevertheless, Lady Capulet wants to speak with Juliet and tells her about the marriage. She tells her that she gave birth to Juliet at Juliet's current age, so it's imperative that she gets married right away. Juliet is unamused and the feast begins. Romeo also comes, although he is a Montague. This is because he wants to go and meet his crush, Rosaline. He speculates with Benvolio and Mercutio on how to get into the party. Mercutio simply mocks Romeo and goes into a long poetic speech. Benvolio then reconciles the 2, however, and then they refocus on their attention into getting into the party.
What shall this speech bespoke for our excuse, or shall we on without apology?
The date is out of such prolixity. We'll have no Cupid hoodwinked with a scarf. bearing a Tartar's painted bow of lath, scarring the ladies like a crow keeper. But let them measure us as they will. We'll measure them, measure, and be gone.
Give me a torch, I'm not for this ambling. Being but heavy, I will bear the weight.
Nay, gentle Romeo, we must have you dance.
Not I, believe me. You have dancing shoes with nimble souls. I have a soul of lead, so stays me to the ground. I cannot move.
You are a lover. Borrow Cupid's wings, and soar with them above a common bound.
I am too sore and pierced with his shaft, to soar with his light feathers, and so bound. I cannot bound with pitch above dull woe. Under love's heavy burden do I sink.
And to sink in it should you, burden love. Too great oppression for a tender thing.
Is love a tender thing? Is it too rough, too rude, too boisterous? And it pricks like a thorn.
If love be rough with you, be you rough with love. Prick love for pricking, and you beat love down. Give me a case to put my visage in, a visor for a visor. What cares I doth cloud deformities? Here are the beetle brows, shall blush for me.
Come, knock and enter, and no sooner in, but every man betake him to his legs.
A torch for me, then wantons laid apart tickle the senseless rushes with their heels. Rhyme proverb with the grandsire phrase, I'll be a candle holder, and look on. The game will ne'er so fair, and I am done.
Tut, done's the mouse, the constable's own word. If thou art done, we'll draw thee from the mire of the serve reverence love, wherein thou stickst up to the ears. Come, we burn daylight, home.
Nay, that is not so.
I mean, sir, in delay, we waste our lights in vain, like lamps by day. Take our good meaning, for our judgment sits 5 times in the year, once in our 5 minutes.
And we mean well in going to this mask, but 'tis no wit to go.
Why may one ask?
I dreamed a dream tonight.
And so did I.
Well, what was yours?
The dreamers often lie.
In bed asleep, while they do dream things true.
Oh, then I see Queen Mab has been with you. She is the fairy's midwife, and she comes in shape no bigger than a gate stone, on the forefinger of an elderman, drawn with a team of little enemies. Athwart men's noises as they lie asleep, her wagon spokes made of long spiders' legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, the traces of the smallest spider's web, the collars of the moonshine's watery beams, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner a small gray-coated net, not so big as a round little worm, pricked from the lazy fingers of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut, made by the joiner squirrel or old grub, time out of mind in the fair's coachmakers, and in this state she gallops night by night, through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love, over porters' knees, and dream on courts he straight, over lawyers' fingers who straight down on fees, over ladies' lips, who straight on kisses dream, which of the angry mad with blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops over a porter's nose, and then dreams he of smelling out a suit, and sometimes she with a pig's tail tickling the parson's nose as he lies asleep.
Peace, peace, Mercutio. Thou'st talk of nothing.
Following the selected scene, Romeo makes his way into the party. His initial intent is to find Rosaline, who was his true love. Instead, Romeo finds Juliet. He renounces his love for Rosaline, stating that he was never in love technically, and makes his way over to Juliet. After a crude introduction and cheesy poetry, Romeo makes Juliet kiss him and vice versa. He then leaves and Juliet wants to know who exactly the man was. She finds out it's Romeo from her nurse and vows not to marry Paris, but instead love Romeo. The selected scene is important because it is a general precursor to the tenets of the play, which is a lover's relationship between each other. It establishes challenging questions for Romeo. For example, on what exactly is love and how does it function? These questions continue well into the extremities of the play as Romeo confronts dangerous situations in order to marry Juliet. Shakespeare expert René Girard praises the play's oxymoronic love, which he says is a strength the play has over Shakespeare's other plays. Quote, "The lovers do not feel responsible for the misfortunes of true love. They see themselves as innocent victims of tyrannical parents, jealous friends, and other unwanted meddlers. If this true love were as independent as it claims, the two lovers would be satisfied with each other's companies and never become entangled. with anyone else. In the plays of Shakespeare, the opposite happens. True love constantly runs into trouble. Overall, we thought the play was pretty decent. We appreciated the philosophies each character had to challenge in order to reach an end goal. We also liked the characters, who we thought were more complex than Shakespeare's other plays, such as Macbeth or King Lear. We did not really like the romance part of the play too much, however, and in this fact we would prefer the plays Macbeth and King Lear, which have more to do with corruption and selfishness.